Hi everyone, so this week for class I wanted to focus on the Endangered Species Act for this week's discussion. And to start, I have an article by the Courthouse News Service that was released on October 31st, 2025, and the title is Trump 45 era bid to weaken Endangered Species Act on thin ice. So I know it's worded a little oddly, but we're going to dive into exactly what this is talking about right now. So, for those who don't know, the Endangered Species Act, or the ESA, was enacted in 1973. It is the US's most powerful environmental law that we have, and it protects over 1,600 species of animals and plants from becoming endangered or extinct. Its protections right now are under threat by the Trump administration, and they have been since 2019. Um, Essentially, the Trump administration wants to change the definition of the word harm so that industries can not be penalized for, moving in and doing the things that they want to do in order to make a buck to these protected habitats and lands. And we'll dive into that a little further down in this presentation. Um, let's see. So the Biden administration, while they were in office, were trying to restore stronger rules and reverse what the Trump administration had been trying to do. And as well as there have been environmental groups that have gone to court to challenge this as well. So there are people that are trying to protect and reverse everything that is going on. However, there's still not a final decision yet on whether one side versus the other is going to win or if they're going to meet in the middle. But this is important because we need to realize that a political shift can really impact the future of our endangered species as well as just our environment as a whole. So we're going to dive into another article to support with more evidence from UC Davis, and essentially what we're exploring here is the what the Trump administration wants to do, which is, again, like I said, redefine the word harm under the ESA in order to find a loophole for them to make business and do what they want to do. So, since 1975, regulations have defined harm to include habitat destruction that kills or injures wildlife. So harm, by this definition, includes both direct and indirect harm to wildlife and their respective habitats. So what the Trump administration wants to do is redefine it so that it can change in such a way that, that leaves out habitat modification. So essentially they want it to be where, well, if we're not directly poaching or hunting or trying to kill endangered species, then no harm, no foul. If we do anything to the environment or habitat that they exist in, that should not be something that we can be penalized for. So essentially this is just so that they're able to, drill for oil, for gas, to build more industry, plants, urbanization, do all that kind of stuff, and reduce the amount of wildlife and natural land that we have in the US. So, okay, excuse me one second. And yeah, again, this is ultimately just for greed. Not protecting habitats that go to these species is really detrimental, and it's actually more important to protect the species' habitat as opposed to just protecting the species alone, because they need their space and their environment to thrive, to reproduce, to survive, to have shelter, all that stuff. So a study found in 2019 that only 17% of endangered species were endangered due to direct killing or harm. And this was including methods such as hunting and poaching. This includes species such as the grizzly bear, the red wolf, American crocodile, and the Florida panther, whereas 81% were listed because of habitat loss or degradation, and this impacts or impacted, I should say, species that are like extremely on thin ice already at this point, if not already completely extinct, including the island fox, the desert tortoise, the ivory-billed woodpecker, the Chinook salmon, and the southwestern willow flycatcher. Globally, in 2022, another study found that habitat loss threatened more species than all other causes combined. So this really just drives that fact home, that the main thing we need to do is protect the habitats as well as protect the species that exist within them. Ecosystems are becoming fragmented and are becoming weaker, and species don't have the space that they need to thrive. And this is already considering the fact that 107 million acres of land in the US are labeled as protected land, but the Trump administration is attempting to reverse that and threaten that for industries to do what they want to do. Industries are saying that the ESA is being used as an excuse to stop growth, to stop business, to stop industrialization. And while it can be viewed that way, what we don't realize is that when we're not protecting our environment, we're not protecting our species that exist in these environments, we're also harming the world for ourselves, for humans. We need wildlife to thrive and to be successful, in order for us to live the lives that we want to live on this beautiful earth that we're trying so hard to save. Really quickly, the last thing I want to leave you guys with, just to have something that relates close to home, I'm going to post another article that I found by KQED that talks about a species here in California that is under threat, and that is the southern sea otter. So it's native to here to California. They have a significant population here in our waters, and for me personally, they hit close to home because I just think they're so stinking cute. Like, they're adorable. They're the puppies of the sea, and they're so nurturing. They're so kind. I can't imagine threatening a species like this, and they are, up until this point, federally protected under law, but again, that's being threatened if we redefine harm in the ESA. So sea otters help to stabilize marshlands, and they also promote eelgrass growth, which helps our waters and our environment a lot. Otters Otters rely on living ecosystems in order to survive. And there's just one quote from this article. If you choose not to read the article, that's fine, but there's one quote that I do want to read out loud because I think it's really important. If they don't have anything to eat, we can pick up, feed, and nurture otters and release them as much as we want, but if the ecosystems they're going back to are degraded, they are not going to fare well. So essentially, like I said, if we don't protect the ecosystems, we can't really expect to protect the species. We can bring them into sanctuaries as much as we want, but if we're going to release them into a place that is ultimately going to harm them, it's just going to be a back and forth, never-ending battle of trying to protect them and then ultimately sending them back to a place that isn't safe. Now, my question to you guys is, with this whole issue of redefining harm in the ESA, do you think there is a way for what the Trump administration is wanting to do, and those who want to protect the current definition of harm in the ESA to meet in the middle? And if you think they can make a negotiation to meet in the middle, what would your proposed negotiation be? With that, I leave you guys. I can't wait to see what other topics you all cover in the discussion, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!